Hey guys, it's Anthony from Tabletop Misfits, and welcome to a Spotlight of Jaws. Now, a Spotlight is where we take the game itself and break down the rules, basically give you a quick overview of how the game plays, to let you know what you're kind of getting into when you buy these games. And if you need to, of course, you can use this as a rules reference, but always refer back to your user's manual because, you know, I'm not 100% perfect on some things. This is to give you a general idea. I'm not going to spit out verbatim the rules, okay, guys? So here we go. We're going to go into Jaws. Now, Jaws is a game by Ravensburger. We have one of our videos, of course, that already kind of talk about the game and break open the box contents. It is a very, very fun game. It is a movement-based game, and I'm going to go into kind of how you play it real quick. Now, one player is actually Jaws. They have their little book. It's called a shark tracker. And the shark tracker actually denotes on the board where Jaws is going to be. Now that's important because as a hidden movement game, as it's called, you're going to be moving around the board, but you don't tell everybody else where you're going. They're not going to know on the island where you're at. So you're going to actually write down, of course, to be fair, so you can't cheat, you write down where you're going on the island. Also, it helps you kind of keep track. Now, as Jaws, you're going to be writing down every round where you're going on the island and trying to eat basically people in the ocean. So the game starts and you'll have three characters, Hooper, Quint, and Brody, and it's for 4 players, of course, although it can be tailored down and one player will have to play multiple roles if that's the case, but you will always have Hooper, Quint, and Brody against the shark. In Act 1, this game is played in 2 acts. Act 1, each character will have their own side of their board and they will each have a different ability. So for example, Brody's job is he runs around in the island, he'll pick up barrels and drop them at the docks for Quint, so that Quint can use them to shoot at the shark, which is how you end the round, unless Jaws eats too many people, basically. Quint's job is to roll around and basically shoot barrels into the areas he thinks Jaws is at. And Hooper helps them detect. He'll run around, he'll scurry people off the water, basically. He goes and rescues swimmers off the water, and he also has a shark tracker device. So that's kind of the roles in a nutshell. Each player will play one of these roles, and they have their little cards and the actions on the cards that they can do. During the round, of course, the shark will write down where he's on the island. The first thing you'll do, though, is you'll flip over a card, and the card will tell you exactly where swimmers will pop up. So I'll have a designation on the card, and sometimes it has a little event. So for example, this has a swimmer and it says north, south, east, west. You have areas on the beach that say north, south, east, and west. The swimmers will appear in these areas. So you'll take a swimmer and you'll put them in the areas west, north, east, and south. And so that's areas potentially points for Jaws to get more points. Now, you know, some of them will have a caveat. They'll have like a little event on the bottom that says move all crew members to the beach with the most swimmers. If tied, the crew chooses which beach to go to. So that means that everybody has to go to one spot on the beach, for example. Like this will move everybody over here to the beach. So these guys will go here and Brody will go here. So they will change up the game and make it more difficult for the human players, more or less. So every round that starts, you pull a card, you put people on the beach. Jaws will write down where he's going to go on his card already. So then the human people have to decide where he's at. Now, Jaws has a couple of options as the Jaws player. He does have abilities. He has 4 to be exact, and he only gets to use them once in all of the first act. And they will do things like let him move faster because he does have limited amounts of movements. Basically, he can only move a couple spaces every round. So these will let him move extra spaces. Basically, everything's broken down in action moves. So for example, like the shark here, he has 3 actions. He has move 1 space or eat 1 swimmer. So he's kind of limited. So he's going to either move really fast, but if he starts eating swimmers, of course, they'll disappear off the board and he'll get found out. So it's a very kind of cat and mousey game. But these abilities will let him cheat kind of more or less for a round, make him move faster, eat multiple swimmers in an area. This is making him invisible to Hooper's fish finder and Brody's binoculars, for example. So it gives him a little bit of a strategy to play with. So he'll move around the island, and then the human players will each get 4 actions each, and they'll basically move them around and they'll move their characters around. And largely, like I said, Hooper's going to be either taking swimmers off the beach with his actions, or he's going to shoot his fish finder. Now, if Jaws is in that area or nearby, he'll have to reveal himself with a counter, or sorry, a meeple in this case, and that will kind of give his position away. So Jaws has to be really careful because if he's found out, what happens is Quint will have these barrels loaded up here on his boat. Now, Brody will be bringing him barrels to the docks because Quint can only pick them up from the docks. While he has them on his boat, and he has, like I said, a limited supply because every time he shoots them, he will be putting them in the water. So he's basically going to be shooting them in the areas where he thinks the shark is at. If he manages to hit the shark, let's say Jaws is here and he shoots it into the water, well, that goes on to Jaws' board. Now when Jaws has 2 of these, the act 1 is done. That's not good for him. What he wants to do is the shark wants to eat as many people as possible because that improves his chances of winning act 2. So he's going to avoid Quint and those barrels as much as possible. So Brody's going to be running back and forth across the island, giving barrels to Quint. He does have another couple abilities. He can close the beach as well to make sure that swimmers do not appear on that beach, and that will wear out as time goes by. When swimmers appear there, it eventually wears out, so swimmers will appear there again. It's not a permanent thing. And he also has binoculars, which will help him scout an area, and if the shark's there, it kind of has to reveal itself. And you'll kind of go around like that until either the shark has 2 barrels on him, or he's eaten enough people to kind of max out his chart over here. He has a max of, 9 people, I believe. Yeah, he eats up to 9 people. And what happens is the more people he eats, the more powerful he gets in Act 2, which we'll get to right now. So we'll flip this board over here real quick to go to Act 2. Now, everything kind of flips over, making it quite easy. These cards go away. We flip this over to Act 2. We flip everybody's cards over to Act 2. Jaws himself will flip over Act 2. Now, based on how much he did, how many people he ate in Act 1, he gets different things. Now, if he ate a lot of people, like say, we'll just say he ate 6 people, he gets 6 shark abilities. These are cards that he will use in round 2 to help him out, basically to do extra things. So, like for example, ramming speed, hard target, making waves, and we'll go over what these do in the next phase here, but basically they will give him a boost when he attacks the orca in the second phase. And it will also give the crew less gear in the second phase, so each of the members of the orca will have different different gear that they get to help fight Jaws. So not only does he get more abilities with the more people he eats, but the less crew they get, making it way more difficult for the human players. So how well he does in the first act is extremely important for him winning in the second act. Now in the second act, the crew each gets a default amount of stuff, like Hooper gets a hammer and a rifle, Quint gets a machete and a flare, and Brody gets a baseball bat and a pistol. These come on them by default, so they automatically get that. However, based on how well Jaws did in the first act, they will get extra gear. And basically you'll dole these out, and it'll be random items like ammo for their guns, because those will get used up, chum the water to kind of help find out where Jaws is at, things like that they get to distribute amongst themselves. So they'll have extra gear, let's say, as they go along. And we'll just put those over there real quick. Now, the orca will get laid out with these tiles, literally describing exactly, well, not describing, but showing the boat exactly as it is. This is my humming while I build the board noise. Fa la 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 la. Right, hon?
Yep.
So there's the orca in all its glory. I like the red on the chum blood on the end of the dock. So this is the orca, and you're going to have your meeples on here now, and your meeples have to be on one of these sections when you start out. Now Jaws will be attacking this boat. You don't need the meeple anymore. You'll get your shark abilities already handed out at the beginning of the turn. You'll now have these resurface cards. Each member will get tokens that they'll get in case they shoot an area, and Jaws will get an A, B, and C area, as well as areas he's going to go to. Now, he chooses basically where he's going to resurface at. Now, to do that, what happens is you have a deck of cards that are called resurface cards. Every round, these cards will come out, and it'll give you the areas that Jaws will be able to resurface at. So what these cards will show is the area of the boat that Jaws will attack, because he's going to basically be beating this boat down to try to eat the people or kill the people on board. That's how he wins ultimately, right? And this, on the dice, it'll show not only where he's hitting on the boat, but it will show a number and a shark fin. That's how many dice he'll get to, or how much defense he has against Brody and the rest of them. And then it shows how many dice he rolls for attack. The more dice, the better. So depending on the area that he'll be going to, sometimes he'll get less defense or more dice. But basically, these are his options that he'll have to choose, and he'll have to choose one of those options. So it kind of narrows down where they're going to be. Now, an important part of this is that he is limited, and he has to choose ahead of time. Now, he can choose to use an ability though that will cheat a little bit, much like the prior phase. So, for example, like ramming speed, it says after the crew attacks, the shark may move to an adjacent water space, and if he moves, you add 2 hits to their attack roll. So basically, he'll be able to cheat. He'll get to move an additional time. So he'll be able to chuck the cards, but he only has this many cards that he started out with to be able to use, so he has to use them sparingly. So Jaws will choose a spot, and sometimes the crew members will be able to narrow it down by using different items to sit here and say, okay, well, you are, for example, if you're going to go to A, we know you're going to A. Like chum is a big thing right here. It says after the shark locks in their resurface token, you may play chum. The shark player must reveal one of the resurface tokens they did not choose. So basically, for example, the shark has A, B, and C, and he has to choose A, B, and C to go to. If he locks in, say, C, and they play chum, for example, he has to reveal A or B because he's at C. So it kind of locks down where the characters are going to go. Now, they even break down, nice thing is they break down the options or the game phases and each of the things you do in the phase. So what happens is Jaws chooses where he's going to go. He'll choose a token. The crew prepares, so basically they get to move around the boat up to 2 spaces. Yeah, anywhere they want. Each block is a space. And then if they're going to use a gun or a hand, like they basically have 2 options to attack. They have a close range weapon, like a melee weapon, or they have a gun. After using a gun, though, they have to aim for a particular spot. They're going to guess where the shark is shooting. So like, for example, if they think he's going to go here, they'll put the target here. If they have a melee weapon, Jaws will have to appear on the tile that they're at or next to the tile that they're at to hit them if there's a water space around. The shark will reveal where he's going at. So say he's going to C, like we were talking about. He will attack this part of the boat. Now, let's say, for example, Brody was shooting over there. Okay, great. Well, now he basically called out the weapon he was going to use, the pistol. He'll get to roll 2 dice. Jaws appears there. He'll get to roll 2 dice trying to hit Jaws. Jaws has a 2 defense there, so he has to get more than 2 to actually damage him. So you roll. I've only rolled 2. It did not break Jaws' defense, so he didn't do any damage to him. And they want to kill Jaws, so that's not very good. And if you look on this side of the card for Act 2, it has as much damage as Jaws can take. And you're going to hit him up to, well, what, 17, 18 times before he's dead. So you have to hit him quite a bit. Now, you'll keep going back and forth, trying to damage Jaws. When Jaws attacks the boat, he will roll the dice on the card. So say he appears there, they attack him. Let's say he had a weapon, he attacked them, rolled dice, whatever. Jaws will get his opportunity to damage the boat. So he'll roll a dice and basically try to hit the boat. Now the boat has numbers on here, and that's the amount of hits that the boat can take before it breaks. So basically on this edge of the boat, it takes 1 hit before it's damaged or 3 hits before it's destroyed. So if Jaws attacks there, rolls a dice, rolls a 1, he's going to damage the boat. If the boat's damaged, you flip it over to this side, that shows a damaged part of the boat. Characters can still go there, but they got to be careful because if the boat gets destroyed, they will be in the water, which makes them very edible to Jaws, let's just put it that way. When you flip it over, of course, the number changes again, and it only costs 1 now to destroy what's left of that boat. If Jaws does really well, though, he can roll enough to destroy a boat part outright. Say he goes here and rolls 4 when he hits that side of the boat, gets really lucky, that whole piece will go away. It'll be entirely destroyed. And anybody on that piece will fall into the water, and that will give Jaws the opportunity to wound them. Each of the characters can take only up to 6 wounds before they're dead. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If he wounds them 6 times, they are dead, they're out. You're out of the game at that point. And if Jaws kills all 3 people, eats them all, Jaws wins. So, and the round will play out round to round. That way you only have a limited amount of supplies while they scramble around the ever-destroyed boat to try and take out Jaws and do enough damage to him. And it's very difficult. This part of the game is a lot of fun, though. And that's pretty much the whole game. So basically you either end up like Brody, shooting that rifle at the end. Sometimes you had a lot of cool things, and he'll be on, on this tile, shooting Jaws at the end, taking him out in the last shot. Other times it's kind of a flub, and the shark does really bad and gets killed really early. It just depends. But that is how you play Jaws. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown for Jaws video. Again, this is a generalized idea of how you play. Always refer to your rule book for little nitpicky stuff, but it is a very fun game, guys. This has been a spotlight on Jaws, the game, from Ravensburger. Thanks again for joining me, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and game on.